evening, everybody, and thank you so much for making time to be here. We are delighted to have Yukta Mookhey here, none other than Miss World. Jamshed Mistry to thank for getting Yukta here. And Jamshed Mistry also is the person who is the moving force behind this Legal Resource Center happening. From the time we started Moneylife Foundation 4 years ago, there have been constant requests for us to get into legal help. Anita will say that. And we kept saying, no, we don't have the resources, not yet, can't do. And then, of course, Jamshed joined us. And this is something he's been very passionate about, and he's going to tell you more about it. Those of you who have been here know about Moneylife, but just one line about us. I'm not going to spend time talking about Moneylife Foundation today. We are 4 years old, as you know, on February 6th. We have 28,600 members, and this is our 199th seminar, which, if you do the math, is about little less than one a week. And of course, it's back-breaking work, but we're quite proud of it and very satisfied. This is one of two big new initiatives we're going to start this year. The Legal Resource Center, and the other is going to be a credit helpline, which we're going to announce pretty soon now. I'm not going to say anything more about this because I think Jamshed is the right guy to say. May I request Walter Vieira to please welcome Ms. Mookhey with a bouquet of flowers. Walter Vieira is our trustee of Moneylife Foundation. To you, Mr. Mistry.
Well, yes, good afternoon, good evening, whatever you. Thank you, Yukta. Thank you for making it. Thank you to all the trustees. Thank you, Mr. Gandhi. We have had the pleasure of appearing in person and together in several cases. I think the whole idea of having a legal resource center was something that occurred to not only to me but a few others. This was during 2008 when we had the horrible blasts and you know the Taj, the 2611, because we found that one reason for you know things happening in our city at a particular point of time, whether it is the corporation, whether it is you know other aspects, was the easy availability of accurate legal information. The state does have its legal, you know, state legal services, they have legal aid, etc. But what about an ordinary citizen? Where is he going to go to even prior to visiting a lawyer? I think that's something that was always uppermost in our mind. I had the good fortune of actually visiting UDRI and with Naina Katpalia from City Space, who's not here today. And that's really when I said that, you know, this is something, this type of a facility should be made available. Anywhere outside of India, if you go to a public library, you can go get in online and you have a lot of information and accurate legal information that is also available to you. Over here, I mean, both as lawyers and as citizens, we find it very, very difficult. You can go online. If you're lucky, you get something. If you're not, I mean, that has led to all sorts of situations. You have matters in court being decided on basis of judgments which are what are called per inquirium, which have been set aside at some point in time. And how do you ensure that that information is available, A, to a lawyer, B, to a client? The other very important thing is, let us have informed clients and informed. They're so much better and easier to deal with. I'm not saying the over-smart client, but I'm saying that a client who has with him enough information so that he can express you know, his thoughts. He's saying, this is exactly my problem. And then you can actually narrow down, A, to jurisdiction, and B, to what exactly the problem is. As we know, over the period of time, the number of laws that we are faced with today have increased tremendously. Earlier it was civil and criminal, full stop. Now you have information technology. You have, I mean, somebody was asking me, he said, what type of law do you practice? And I had to say, I'm sorry, in India, and in fact somebody asked me just yesterday from University of British Columbia, and I told him, he was the dean. I said, we practice everything from adoption to abortion, the entire range. So I said, we are not experts. I mean, with the number of amicus appointments, we find that sometimes law needs to be laid down. And the abortion matter was a classic example where I had to depend upon English law to actually tell the court what I was talking about, because the Medical Termination of Pregnancy Act only said 16 weeks. Even today, unfortunately, India has not decided this issue. So this is the background. I have to thank a lot of people actually. Apart from, Moneylife Foundation has been very, very supportive. They immediately said yes. We have HDFC. We have. I'm so glad Naresh is here. He's been a good friend. We've discussed this many times. There's Avantika Akerkar. She's not here, not a lawyer, but she also was very, very supportive. And I think this is something that we would like to take across to other states. You'd be very happy to know Goa and Gujarat have, individual lawyers and other NGOs have expressed immediate interest and saying that we need to do something like this. And essentially, the other very interesting thing I must tell you, I said, let me see if it is possible to file a copyright for something like this. I filed it and I got it. So that's another very interesting aspect. Normally, you cannot copyright a concept. But anyway, as far as I'm concerned, the copyright belongs to the world and to every citizen. So this is really the basis. We would very much want each and every one of your, suggestion, participation, and, to make this really a sort of a vibrant resource center. We need to thank Thomson Reuters. They're willing to give some of their database also to us, and several others. I would like to thank the Bombay High Court. They've also been very, very kind to us. They said if you need anything from even as far as the judge's library, you're free to come and access it. And I think this is a great step in the right direction. So thank you, each and every one of you.
I'm going to ask Yukta to inaugurate the Legal Resource Center in the click of a button. So this is our website, and I'm just going to take 1 minute of your time to run you through a few important things that are going to be part of the Legal Resource Center. This is page 1, and these are our resource people. And all the buttons say exactly what we're going to do, but the key elements is what I'm going to take you through. This is just to scroll down. This is about us. This is our expert panel. It goes on. Seek help. These are our 10 areas. As you know, we've started with a modest 10 areas where we think we've got initial expertise. Website goes live now, but don't expect too much today. We've got some information on each of this, but when I say that we are looking for inputs from you to populate this is what I mean. Accessing us, very simple. There's a contact form. We just need basic information. We are saying please contact us first on email. So we are asking you to put 300 words there and give us a synopsis of your issue. This is an important resource. One of the things that we have here is get into details, but Sandeep Jalan, for instance, has done a wonderful little compendium of all kinds of legal issues that one needs. That is here. Garang Damadi runs a website called Die Hard Indian. There are a whole lot of information that we need in our everyday life that is here. But with this, I'm going to ask Devashish to explain a little more about what the LRC is about.
Friends, you've already seen various elements of the website that Sucheta has demonstrated. Over the next few months, we will populate it with specific information in all of the 10 areas that we plan to focus in detail. Let me list down in a little more detail than what she has suggested the powerful resources we already have. We are grateful to Advocate Sivina Sacha for offering to identify and train legal interns for the LRC. It's a huge burden off our backs. In terms of information, as Jamshed has mentioned, we are delighted that Thomson Reuters has offered us support. Thanks to Mr. Shirish Shanbag for donating a few hundred law books, and they're all over there in one particular shelf, and we are getting more of them. He's also agreed to be a resource person, and that's a fantastic resource person, because he's got personal interest in a whole lot of stuff, from cooperative housing societies to telephone complaints to virtually everything that affects us on a daily basis, and he's going to be a resource person here. Mr. Israni has donated his books on SEBI, the SEBI Act. He's written 2 volumes on SEBI Act, which is really the last word. We also have a series of path-breaking RTI judgments from Shailesh, and these are all curated and put in the website. Advocates Israni and Bapu Malcolm have both been a huge supporter of Moneylife, and both have volunteered to guide people who approach the LRC for help. Then their specializations are in not just wills and nominations and transfer of assets. These are their core areas, but they have incredible insights into virtually everything that we need on a regular basis. Gaurang Damani's website, Die Hard Indian, has links to all our everyday needs, from birth certificate, death certificate, passports, how to file a consumer complaint, and so on and so forth. He's also agreed to be a resource person. Mr. Ashok Rawat, one of our senior most activists today, he's right there in the middle, and he has already been guiding money lifers on a host of issues. He's agreed to be formally a resource person for LRC. Advocate Mona Nair, right there behind, extremely public-spirited lawyer, has also offered to help, and Ms. Chandni Jaffrey has agreed to guide us on how to reach out to many more people. We also have activists like Samir Zaveri, who's not here, but Gurpreet, who's here somewhere. I noticed him coming in. I don't know where. There he is. He is a living, legend as far as going after MLM companies are concerned, especially things like Questnet and QNet and whatever, what have you. And these people are ever smiling, ever willing to help us, whoever needs it. In order to actually lead and coordinate the working of LRC, the interns, the group programmers, our deputy editors, Yogesh Sabkale is right here, who will be the central resource person. Sydney will assist him. Sydney is right there. So if you want to send an email, it's legalhelp@moneylife.in, which will be configured to his computer. He'll be looking at it. Now, how will the LRC work? First and foremost, we will not offer legal advice. Our terms and conditions for using the LRC are in bold print, and we are clear that we will only guide people to the right forum and on how to get the best results. So we will not even draft applications, which is actually a very technical thing, and we would let lawyers do that, which is their domain, or appear for them. That's also not something that we can do. We will limit the number of times an individual makes use of the center, because it is free, and we seek your guidance on what these limits ought to be. 4 areas need a lot of hand-holding, and this is based on the personal experience of Sucheta and the legal resource persons that we have engaged. One is whistleblowing, then RTI, sexual harassment, and public interest litigations. All of these are tough areas, and people have put in a lot of emotion when they want to file an RTI or a PIL, or they go for a sexual harassment case, etc. And these need very, very tactful and careful handling. We would be delighted to discuss this further with whoever is interested and who can sort of advise us further on this. All we need to do is to sort of request you and people that you know make a concerted and a very, very systematic attempt to spread the word about LRC. With these few words, may I open the floor for feedback and suggestions? But before that, of course, we would want to hear Miss Yukta Mookhey.
A very good evening to everyone, and thank you, Sucheta, for having me here. Thank you to Jamshed sir for always being the great moral strength, and I always say Baba guided lawyer. Thank you to Chandni as well for helping to extend your expertise. What I would really like to say, apart from what has already been very beautifully elaborated, is that from my personal experience, I've realized that when we do get into a situation where we feel that we are being met with obstacles or with resistance, or I'm having to fight against someone, or I have been tortured and I've gone through XYZ. It's actually on a very deeply subconscious level, a lot of resolving that we need to do. For me, through the last 2 years of having dealt with law, not very intimately, but fairly closely, and having interacted with probably a dozen of lawyers, I was, the first question, the first phase of questions I would always be asked, especially by family lawyers, do you really want to get into litigation? And I understand where they're coming from. It's probably part of a training or part of a profile that you sort of evaluate. Do we really want to get into litigation? Do we really want to fight against something? Or do I really want to put my energy and all my emotional charge into something that I rather believe in? And Mother Teresa has said it very beautifully, that rather than fighting against violence, let's propagate peace. So I felt that had I been in a different time and space, I would have dealt with my personal life situation very differently. And it's a great act of letting go rather than wanting to say that I am right and I need to be proving that I'm right. And the law says that, these are my rights and this is what I should get and this is what has been done wrongly, in whatever situation it may be. But I think subconsciously it's probably all of us, most of us, operating from a place of feeling wronged. And when you're coming from that space of feeling wronged, you're going to end up meeting a lawyer or a doctor or somebody who's then going to wrong you further. So I felt that if I had more spiritual and emotional counseling at the beginning of my litigation, I probably would not have gone into litigation. And so I'd like to see that, and I'm always available for anybody who'd like to reach out and maybe even have a word on the phone. You can put my name on the panel over there. And I feel that if we all believed that there is a divine guidance, that we really need to just tap into, I think a lot of litigation would just disintegrate into thin air over a period of minutes, because there are a lot of cases that do get resolved once they're on the mediation table or once the parties have had a lot of time to sort of sit and breathe and think over it, and then they think, okay, we don't want to fight about this money, and I don't want to lose my relationship with my father or with so-and-so over a will or a piece of land or whatever it may be. And a generation or maybe 3 generations or maybe 5 generations may have spent fighting over it. I think I recently read about some royal family in Baroda or Gujarat. Was it not the Gaikwads or something like that? And they've been fighting over it. And I said, with all that wealth of palaces, they could have educated like maybe a whole state or so many villages, and they could have done so much more to bring up. So that whole emotional energy, that whole charge of so many people putting their entire time and energy and their whole emphasis and thinking and sleeping and breathing about it would have really done wonders had we just oriented it differently. And so I think it's just a shift of perspective and wearing a different set of glasses. If I wear pink, then that's how I see the world. And a lot of it is also, I feel, very, very, there is this divine timing to things, some things or some people, and there are some events and incidents which will happen only when they're meant to happen, and also when we're ready, as they say, when you're ready, the master appears. So when we're ready to receive that knowledge, and when we're ready to let go of what we're holding in our cup, and when we empty ourselves, and there's always space to take in something better, and maybe finding an even better solution to what we were fighting for. So I think that if we all operated from a space or from an intention of what other great can come out of this situation, or what else is possible, we might all come out of our belief patterns, and maybe we'll have to rewrite the whole legal constitution, and we'll have to get somebody else to rewrite the laws, and get a lot of spiritual healers to what they think should be written in the books. So I know I'm deviating from a very technical aspect of it, but having gone through a very, very intense period of a lot of fear and seeing a lot of corruption in the souls of humanity, I wouldn't want to blame the legal system, because there's some great lawyers and there's some great people doing fantastic work, and there's some really, really genuine human beings trying to uplift humanity and take us to a better future. And I really hope and do pray that the Legal Resource Center and Moneylife Foundation will bring that change from 2014. So thank you all for being here. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, Yukta. What a wonderful talk. And I think I entirely agree with you. My friend Sonia is probably nodding over there and agreeing with everything that you said. I think this is what we are going to do at the Legal Resource Center, because what you said about family disputes also applies to whistleblowing. I mean, it's something that I feel really strong about. I remember Sailesh and me were part of all the noise about Satyendra Dubey, and ever since I have been saying, and in the last 27 years I've dealt with a lot of people who are whistleblowers, who have given me information sometimes which could cost them their lives, and a lot of times I have told them, be careful, you have to know how to do it. And as you said, all that emotional energy sometimes about proving a point, and they destroy their lives, because it is not just about what you do, but whether you're tactical about it. It's not just the emotional charge, it's also you have to pace yourself right, you have to have the right person to approach. You can even go to the media and make the biggest blunder of your life, because I've had cases where the media is not what it should be, okay? So people take those documents and go back to the other side and say, this is the guy who gave you this stuff. And people have lost their lives because of these mistakes. Or like Satyendra Dubey wrote to the Prime Minister's office, trusted it, and the Prime Minister just passed it on with his name, and the man was shot. And he's not the only one. So in fact, these areas like public interest litigation, today you can blindly go into PILs because you're feeling strongly about something without research. Sure. And you could get a court order which hammers you or gets thrown out. So a lot of these issues are to do with us, and we are hoping to actually address them through the Legal Resource Center. So we say we don't replace lawyers, but we hope that we will be able to advise them correctly, and maybe some will go back and say we don't want the litigation. Right? So with this, I'm going to open the floor to discussion, and if you could introduce yourselves and we can keep our interventions to a minute or two, that would be really lovely.
Friends, I think this is a fantastic effort being put in by Moneylife, and I often wonder if Sucheta and Debu actually make any money out of what they do. But okay, Yukta had a very lovely pink lens when she spoke. Whereas I would say this is very nice, it's lovely. Unfortunately, there are lots of things that need to be changed, and change is resisted everywhere. It's not whether people are good, bad or ugly, but change usually comes with a certain amount of resistance, which is what I think this should hopefully resolve. And I would say I'm very glad to be associated with Moneylife all this while, and I'm hoping this will really make a change to the lives of those who really do not have access to any of these resources. How it's going to happen, I'm not very sure, but I'm sure that is what the objective should be and would be, Suchita. And all the best, Suchita and Debu. God bless you.
I'm Shirish Shanbhag from Chambur. And for this Legal Resource Center, that guidance should be done. I have suggested to Madam that through email only, test case she has sent to me regarding the property matter, regarding the leave license matter, and which I have just dealt with, and I found that instead of calling some people over here, that it should go through email, because that everybody will be at his home comfort, and nobody is in a dire need, like a criminal case that immediately he has to be rescued from the police station and this one. So it is all civil matter. So therefore, that all resource person should be in contact with Moneylife Foundation and that each and every person will be sent that this problem, and he will be solving, and copy will go to that affected person and the Moneylife Foundation, so that a coordination will be done at their own comfort. Thank you.
I just want to make a small suggestion. See, when we are talking about legal research center, there are many laws in India which are either bad or deficient. So I'll suggest that yes, that research also should be concentrated on these two issues.
Hi friends, I am Sandeep Puri. I think the success of this will largely depend on what is the expectation level of the person who comes to the Legal Resource Center for assistance. Because what I've seen is sometimes, when people, because I handle the electricity issue, a lot of people come to us and there are, really very, very unrealistic expectations sometimes. So that sometimes can lead to a lot of, frustration, dejection, and then, calling the whole system a failure. And that will also demotivate everybody else who's trying to make a difference. So I think what we need to be clear about in this, and I'm sure, you'll take care of it, is the fact that what exactly will happen to somebody who comes over here. Because the terminology that we may use, that we will not give advice or we will not give this, may not be completely understood by the person who walks in or the person who emails us. I think somewhere we need to put out, maybe maybe a sample case study, that if this person wants this kind of help, this is exactly what we can do, and break it down, rather than have them read this and assume that, okay, this is what he's going to get. But I think we need to make it a little more clear in terms of, what exactly you'll get out of it, so that the expectation is set right at the outset, so that, that's something that will help.
Good point, Sandeep. In fact, what happens here is people don't say who they are. So one of the things that you should know about Sandeep is, long before the fight in Delhi about discoms, he is the one who fought the battle virtually single-handed to allow people to switch from Reliance to the Tatas, and very successfully, long before the events of Delhi. And congrats. And I think the point you make is very, very well taken, and I think we will do that. We'll put those samples up because expectations are important. Sarish, would you like to say something, because you said you wanted to have an LRC?
Well, not an LRC. What I had in mind is legal aid. But the thought that came to my mind looking at this website is kind of adding weight to your idea. You need to have an execution strategy outlined for somebody. What you said, some arbitration, mediation, then you go into the next step. Also, if there is need for legal aid, then where all is legal aid available? It's expensive. The first thought in people's minds is, how expensive is it going to be for me to fight this? So if there is a kind of networking relationship which will drive people to the clarity about execution of their need, that might be very helpful.
Hi, my name is Manoj Gursani and dear friend of Jamshed, and when Jamshed mentioned Suchita is doing, and I've known Suchita for a long time, so I thought definitely, and congratulations on this initiative. What I can add, what you mentioned is on the networking aspect to connect the right dots. So we are part of a lot of forums, I'm sure Shell is between all of us and our collective resources. We can communicate the message through various forums and platforms, including using social media and other aspects to do it cost effectively and spread the message, and also allocate and reallocate the resources wherever required. So always available through Jamshed and your office.
Thank you so much.
I'm Sumaira Abdul Ali, and I'm so glad that I have a place where all the people who call me and ask for various types of legal help which are outside my own domain expertise have a place to come to. And of course, I would love to offer whatever I have to Sucheta and to Moneylife, so that people can make use of it, which is specifically in environment-related matters. Thanks.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Sumaira. We are going to really tap your experience.
Hi, I'm Sachin Gupta. I was working for a company earlier. Now I'm trying to get into practicing law. One question, and taking points across the forum, I had an observation was that when we talk about giving legal advice or legal aid, there are two sides of the coin. We have a person going through trauma or facing a litigation, maybe in personal life or against the state, you have to distinguish what that particular case is. You can't put everything in one box. I think it's important that a face-to-face dialogue is first had with that person to understand where is that stress that he is facing, whether it's a personal case, whether it's a personal issue, whether it's a state issue, whether it's an establishment issue, and then maybe give a little guidance and then use the resources. Because if somebody says legal resource center, how many people email today? What is he going to ask? What kind of question to ask you? He doesn't know what question to ask. He doesn't know what the law is. He's coming to you for advice that he's facing a problem. We need to get back, understand the problem, and give him that kind of advice, and then put him across the right lawyers or the right forum or the right whatever mechanism works. That would be the step that I think that should.
I'm Feroz Amroliwala. I have been brought out from hibernation by my friend over here, who calls me up in the morning, every morning, to tell me that I should get actively involved with Moneylife. I would like to go with the sentiments expressed by Yukta. Rather than resort to confrontation all the time, many an issue can get sorted out with cooperation and coordination. I have been, for the last 10-15 years, I have almost led a retired life because I lost my son in a road accident. And thereafter, somehow I got into a shell. Kini is trying to get me out of it, and he has been successful.
Thank you.
I'm speaking from my personal experience, that all the time working on this premise that there is something wrong on the opposite side and we need to confront them with that. It is better to try and understand the opposite viewpoint also. I am aware that Moneylife has taken on this railways issue. I have been involved with the railways in the past, and I would like to state that I personally do travel by the suburban railways. I do face the same situation that most of us face. There are problems on the railways, but there are problems with us as well. I had warned Kini when he called me over here. I said I would like to speak my mind. Mr. Samir Zaveri is a victim. He has taken on this issue. But on the other hand, are we all not responsible when we run and catch a train, slip and fall? There is a gap between the platform and the train. I understand. It is not possible to overcome this overnight. I would like to use the offices of Jamshed Mistry, who is also a friend of mine, to impress on the High Court that if the High Court says within 4 weeks they want all platforms raised and all that, it is not possible. There are many issues which the railways face. They have inherited this from the British time when the platforms and trains were made. I would not like to go more into all these things. The only thing is I am extending support to Yukta's philosophy that let us look at the other side as well and guide people where instead of spending energy in a negative field, we can help resolve issues. Thank you.
I'm Bhagwanji Rehani. I was just coming over here, and from Hindustan Times, a reporter called me. Okay, what was your first PIL? Because there is a guide to PIL, one of the points here. When did you file the first PIL? I say in 1996, SSC papers were leaked everywhere, all through the states. At that time, I filed the first PIL with 9 others. And she asked me, how many total you filed? I told her that today I filed 1 PIL, and that was my 106th. So, I'm just going to tell all other people, most of the people are very, very learned friends, and they know that because of the inhibitions in some people's mind, that for going to the court, one has to engage in advocate, not necessarily absolutely. One can appear for himself or herself as Yukta ji, I don't know what she is doing, but she would have represented far better had she appeared herself. So this is what it is.
Most of the arguments were in Marathi directly because a couple of times my lawyer didn't come, so I said, please बोल दे Marathi.
That's good. Because the judge was lenient. Otherwise, they won't allow you when the advocate is on record. That is the stumbling block.
I was only on the lower court level. That would not have happened in this
Anyway, this is because the larger issues what we have taken. This is what I offered my services to Sucheta ji. That whenever I am available here, at least once in a month, I will be coming here to these legal aid centers. I am not an advocate. See, but my own petitions, my own suits or whatever it is, I just contest, argue in the High Court as well as sometimes in the Supreme Court also, PIs, including PIs. So this is what a person hailing from a small village can do this. You can do it far better than I do. This is what I have to do, and for solving the larger issue, because the President of India says that there is a great need of clearing the backlog of the cases. 33 million cases are pending in this country. In 1956, it was only 22 lakhs. And it has rose to this 15 times. And it goes on falling. Today, AP Shah is going to have a talk somewhere, YB Chavan Center. He has said that Delhi High Court, when he was the Chief Justice of the Delhi High Court, he said it will take 466 years to clear the backlog in the Delhi High Court itself. There are other two judges are also there. One says they 300 years, the other says 320 years. Under this situation, what we have done, we have formed a forum for fast justice. And our third national convention is going to be held at Raipur, Chhattisgarh. You all are invited. It's 28 February and 1st March. Thank you very much.
Hello, I am Sandeep Jalan. I am advocate. As the Sandeep Auri has said, there is a very thin line, dividing line between the nature of services which would be extended. Because giving an advice and not giving an advice, how you will distinguish that? And when a query comes to a lawyer, how he could refrain from giving an advice? So I have to first then understand the nature of my role. If I am not supposed to give advice.
I think Jamshed would like to answer this.
See, there are two aspects of this. The question is that if you, of course, the final issue is that you would like to give advice. I mean, the client would come to you for advice. That's true. But very often, even before you get into the realm of going to your lawyer, or even during that period of time, there are so many instances that you would want to know more about the way similar cases have happened. I would like to know, should I go to the consumer court? Should I file a civil suit? Should I do this? Should I do? And your lawyer today, I mean, let's be very honest, we are an extremely busy profession and vocation. We don't, so this is a method and the right, sort of case law sometimes is not available even to us. I mean, I'm saying this is from my own example. We ask juniors to research. Sometimes, if you're fined, you get it. Sometimes you have to sit yourself. I mean, we sit in the High Court and find. I mean, I'll give you a very good example. I had to find out whether the Bombay Public Trust Act applied to the state of Goa or not. And we found that something called, there is Religious and Charitable Endowments Act of 1920. Now, who's going to find that for you? I mean, and sometimes that is the difference between winning and losing. And the citizens are always affected. The client is always affected. So I think we need to, sit down. We will certainly
take all these suggestions. We'll find out, ways of, collaborating. What about, very often, Bhagwanji is here, we're talking about public interest litigation. Why can we not use the judgments of countries in and around? We are talking about Pakistan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka. We have the finest judgments there sometimes. You'll be surprised. We had contempt of court. India was the worst. Public interest as a defense came in so much later. So I think, we need to take this up. Please let's take this as a beginning. We don't say we are perfect. If we were perfect, we wouldn't be here today. And I think, we love to, work with everybody. We need a system like this. That's my.
But then I want to make a point. Then giving an advice is the basic minimum thing which the Legal Research Center would be doing, in my view.
Giving advice would be the basic minimum.
Yeah.
Sandeep, in our experience, what happens is, like say, the domain that we operate in, okay, which is capital market related issues, insurance related issues, or bank related issues. People don't even know the changes that are happening all the time and which forum to go to. For instance, do you know that the latest report of the Banking Ombudsman shows that half the complaints are rejected because people don't follow the simple process of complaining first to your branch, escalating it in the bank, and then approaching the Ombudsman. If you don't do it, you're out. So if you filed it because you know there's a banking ombudsman and you haven't followed due process, it's thrown out.
It's also an advice.
So that is not legal advice. We are telling you what is the best forum. There are times when, of course, disclaimers like Sandeep says are really important. But for instance, the National Spot Exchange, okay? It was not even a legally recognized exchange. Now, who will you go to? There are 3 regulators. 4 financial regulators, but none of them will look at it. So if somebody had come and asked me, and they did, what you would do, I would say go and file a case with the Economic Offences Wing. That's the only thing that's going to help you, right? Because getting into the criminal side of filing with the EOW is going to get much faster results. You can go and file. There are some cases where I may advise them not to go to SEBI, because it's going to take forever, the amount is big, and nothing happens. In fact, it's a sad thing to say, while SEBI has an online grievance redressal mechanism, we personally don't know of anybody who has come back and said, I got my money back, because SEBI is not focused on getting an investor their money back, and we think that is what is responsible for the investor population having shrunk from 20 million to 8 million in the last 20 years. So the impact is so enormous, but nobody discusses it.
Yeah, Suchita, if you're really serious about keeping people away from courts, which seems to be theme today, you need to have up on the site, I don't know if you have it or not, the average cost of litigation and the average time taken by different kinds of litigation. I've been fighting a battle with my society for 10 years now, and it's, bleeding me and it's bleeding them. But if I knew how much it was going to cost me, maybe I would have had a second thought about it. The second issue is when you finally are forced to go to court, the lawyer who represents you makes a big difference. And I don't know, I know lawyers are not supposed to advertise, but if you could have some way of actually building a list of lawyers and getting, a kind of rating system where people who've had exposure to them actually give feedback on them, that would be very, very useful. I have 3 lawyers I would like to nominate for must go to these guys, and 2 lawyers that I would like to nominate for stay away from them.
I think it's a very good point, and I can see a lot of people in the room nodding as you said that. But it's very, very difficult to do a rating system, and I'm sure we want a rating for lawyers as well as doctors, okay, and as well as doctors. And Bapu Malcolm has been telling us for a long time, he's an advocate himself, that you must have a seminar on how to choose a lawyer. So Bapu, you have anything to say on this?
Quite a bit to say on how to choose a lawyer. And how not to choose a lawyer also. I don't deny it. But seriously speaking, you have to be careful. I'm not saying that go into litigation. 9 times out of 10 when people come to me, I ask them the first thing, I say, what do you want at the end of the day? And is it worth going to court? This is the way we function. I'm sorry, but everybody thinks that lawyers are crooks. It is not so. Please understand that. I don't know. Very specifically today, I've not been a lawyer for a long time. But the cases I have handled, 90% of them are initiated by the crooks. 90% of the cases are initiated by the crooks. It is they who have the money. The person across doesn't have it because he's lost it, and they drive you into the ground with long litigation. This is what is happening. And if you want, I can with statistics of the cases I have handled.
With this small discussion, we bring the program to an end. May I request Devashish to present a small memento to Yukta on our behalf.
Thank you. It's my name.
Thank you again, Yukta, for coming here. Very nice of you. And we really liked what you said, and we are going to try and do that because that's the first step. Avoid litigation if you can.